sudah live stream, kita sudah live YouTube. Saya akan mainkan, putarkan Indonesia Raya dan Mars Pari.
Baik, terima kasih. Hadirin dipersilakan untuk rileks kembali. Berikutnya adalah sambutan dari Ketua Bidang Hubungan dan Kerjasama Luar Negeri PP Pari, Bapak Gatot Santosa. Untuk itu, waktu kami persilahkan kepada Bapak Gatot. Silakan, Pak Gatot. Diputu, apakah Pak Gatot sudah jadi co-host? Mungkin?
Saya periksa kembali. Oh, ya. Rupanya akun baru. Baik, saya jadikan pause keduanya. Ya, silakan Pak Gatot.
Terima kasih Beli Putu, Bu Irma. Selamat sore, selamat malam, sejawat sekalian. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera bagi kita semuanya. yang terhormat Bapak Ketua Umum PARI, Pak Sekum, Bu Irma selaku bidang luar negeri, Pak Putu selaku bidang HSIT dan seluruh sejawat kami Radiographers. Pada kesempatan malam hari ini kita akan sama-sama mendengarkan sharing dari saudara-saudara radiographers alat proteksi radiasi dan sekaligus mengenai bagaimana proteksi bagi ibu hamil.
Mohon izin, Beli Putu, ini sinyal saya yang jelek apa mungkin sinyalnya Pak
Dari
Gatot ya?
Pak Gatot, dari Pak
Oh,
Gatot.
oke. Baik, mungkin ada kendala sinyal dari Pak Gatot. Pak Gatot bisa mendengar suara saya? Pak Gatot? Baiklah, mungkin nanti kita bisa lanjutkan kembali ke Pak Gatot, karena seperti biasa kalau pertemuan online sinyal jadi kendala utama kita ya. Mungkin mohon izin untuk melanjutkan ke agenda berikutnya. Mungkin nanti kita kembali lagi ke Pak Gatot. Jika berkenan, mungkin dari Bapak Sekum, Bapak Hidayat Agus Sabarudin berkenan untuk memberikan sambutan sepatah dua patah kata untuk teman-teman radiografer kita. Silahkan. Pak Dayat.
Ya, terima kasih Mbak Irma. Ya, bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Mohon izin Pak Gatot, nanti Pak Gatot kalau nyambung lagi barangkali nanti disambung kembali ya. Ini mungkin suka dukanya jaringan online seperti ini memang ya. Baik Bapak Ibu sekalian, bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat sore. Salam sejahtera buat kita semua. Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan. Alhamdulillah pada sore hari ini kita bisa bertemu kembali pada kesempatan CPD Asia 21 yang ke-21 kalau nggak salah. Mas Gatot mau lanjut lagi dulu? Silakan Mas Gatot. Barangkali bisa diselesaikan dulu.
Silakan dilanjut Pak Sekum.
Gimana?
Ya, silakan dilanjut Pak Sekum. Tadi kami sudah sampai pada kata akhir bahwa kami menyampaikan kalau acara ini di-host oleh oleh sejawat kita dari Macau terkait dengan inspeksi material proteksi radiasi dan radiation protection pada ibu hamil. Mudah-mudahan sharing expertise yang diberikan oleh teman-teman kita bisa kita aplikasikan di pelayanan radiologi di Indonesia. Dan satu hal Pak Sekum, kami menyampaikan bahwa agenda PARI sebagai host untuk acara CPD Asia nanti jatuh di bulan Mei 2023. Jadi barangkali mungkin kita di internal PARI juga harus koordinasi sebagai persiapan untuk acara tersebut. Kira-kira demikian akhir kata sambutan dari saya Pak Sekum. Bu Irma, saya kembalikan waktunya. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih banyak Pak Gatot. Mohon maaf nih tadi ada kendala. Silakan Pak Dayat mungkin bisa menyambung.
Ya, terima kasih. Ya, langsung saja. Jadi malah lebih enak begini, jadi dua-duanya nyambut gitu. Ya, jadi saling melengkapi. Terima kasih sekali lagi teman-teman semuanya, terlebih juga kepada timnya Mas Gatot ya selaku bidang hubungan luar negeri yang mengakomodasi dan mengkoordinasi ya kegiatan seperti ini, yang terutama ini tentunya adalah pengejawantahan atau pewujudan daripada pari yang mendunia. Dan seperti yang diharapkan ya, anggota daripada kegiatan CPD Asia ini terus bertambah, beberapa negara terus bertambah, dan nanti jangan lupa bulan Agustus kita juga akan ada event yang mungkin kita akan ikuti, yaitu Australia Asia gitu ya. Jadi event yang merupakan event Asia dan Australia untuk kegiatan radiografer itu ada di Kuching, Malaysia, bulan Agustus ya teman-teman. Barangkali nanti jika berminat untuk ikut atau mungkin mengikuti kegiatan-kegiatan di sana bisa mempersiapkan diri. Terus yang kedua, mungkin atas nama pengurus pusat, mewakili juga dari Bapak Ketum yang pada sore hari ini berhalangan hadir karena masih dalam perjalanan. Kami juga mengingatkan pada teman-teman semuanya untuk senantiasa meningkatkan kompetensi dan meningkatkan daripada profesionalisme kita sebagai radiografer yang dituntut ya mau nggak mau, suka nggak suka, ya, perkembangan yang terjadi adalah dituntut untuk bisa menguasai hal tersebut. Salah satunya tentunya adalah kegiatan-kegiatan yang ilmiah yang sifatnya seperti ini. Dan kami dari pengurus pusat saat ini juga mempersiapkan diri pembentukan lembaga sertifikasi profesi ya LSP yang saat ini sedang berproses dengan BNSP. Lain halnya dengan Kemenkes, kami juga berkoordinasi dan melakukan kegiatan penyusunan kurikulum dan pembuatan modul pembelajaran yang nantinya akan didaftarkan di Siakbel, akan didaftarkan di list kegiatan diklat yang akan dilaksanakan oleh Kemenkes, di mana kegiatan ini nanti akan sangat berguna bagi teman-teman untuk terutama yang ASN ya, akan meningkatkan poin atau sertifikasi daripada kegiatan ilmiah pengumpulan daripada selain dari SKP juga untuk kenaikan jabatan fungsionalnya teman-teman. Dan nanti sertifikatnya ada 2, berlambang Kemenkes, berlambang kenegaraan, dan ber-SKP dari organisasi profesi, yaitu dari PARI. Demikian mungkin sekilas tentang apa yang sedang kami lakukan di kepengurusan pusat, dan bulan Maret kami selaku juga sekalian promosi, bulan Maret depan tanggal 9-10 Maret insya Allah kami juga menyelenggarakan kegiatan Rakernas sekaligus kegiatan ilmiah yang berupa kegiatan yang menyangkut tentang jabatan karir radiografer ya, baik yang ASN maupun non ASN, dan adanya permasalahan atau adanya pembahasan terkait dengan Permenpan nomor 1 tahun 2023 yang baru kemarin. Jadi silakan teman-teman bisa mempersiapkan diri juga, bulan Maret ya akan ada kegiatan Rakernas yang kebetulan diselenggarakan di Jakarta. Kami akan bekerja sama dengan pengurus daerah DKI Jakarta. Demikian mungkin yang bisa saya sampaikan. Terima kasih sekali lagi atas atensi teman-teman semuanya yang masih terus mengawal dan terus mendampingi kami untuk kegiatan CPD Asia ini. Dan sepertinya terlihat di sana di Macau sudah mulai persiapan. Jadi tak bijak juga kalau mungkin sambutan saya terlalu panjang. Sekali lagi terima kasih pada teman-teman pengurus pusat yang sudah mengawal kegiatan ini. Teman-teman semuanya juga yang hadir pada kesempatan hari ini, dan saya sempat tadi membaca nama-nama teman-teman semuanya. Saya pikir kok namanya ada juga beberapa yang nama-nama yang bukan Indonesia. Saya pikir ini ada dari negara lain ikutan di sini nih. Indra Dominika Katoda, Barbara Yuliana Noleosa, ini misalnya ya. Ini teman-teman dari mana ini? Boleh tahu? Ya, Mbak Osa. Barangkali nggak bisa unmute ya.
Dari Sumba, Pak.
Nggak bisa.
Sumba.
Masih ingat kan, Pak?
Oh iya Mbak Osa ya. Oh ya Wangapu ya. Oh Sumba
Iya.
Sumba, sorry, Sumba.
Tapi udah pindah RSUD,
Ya.
RSUD Tambolaka, Pak.
Oh gitu ya. Ya, jadi saya sepintas tadi baca teman-teman kok namanya sudah ada nama-nama yang mungkin bahasanya bukan Indonesia gitu ya. Saya pikir dari negara Filipina ikutan di sini saya pikir. Ya, terima kasih sekali lagi. Semangat-semangat teman-teman semuanya ini luar biasa ya. Mudah-mudahan ini kegiatan bisa bermanfaat bagi kita semua. Marilah kita bersama-sama menyimak kegiatan ini dan sekali lagi mohon maaf jika dalam penyambutan dan dalam penyampaian ini ada kalimat atau kata-kata yang kurang berkenan. Terima kasih sekali lagi. Salam sukses selalu buat teman-teman semuanya dan salam sehat. Radiografer Indonesia bersama sejahtera mendunia. Terima kasih. Billahi taufiq wal hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Terima kasih Pak Sekum atas sambutannya, sangat luar biasa. Jadi Bapak Ibu sekalian, kita sekarang sudah sedang persiapan ya untuk join di main Zoom utama kita. Sedang dipersiapkan oleh Bli Putu mungkin. Mungkin sekedar info tambahan Bapak Ibu, ada yang baru dari CPD Asia kali ini. Jadi selain ini merupakan CPD Asia pertama yang diadakan tahun 2023. Selain itu saat ini sudah ada 13 negara yang join di CPD Asia, di mana sebelumnya hanya kolaborasi antara 8 negara saja, namun sekarang sudah ada tambahan beberapa negara. Mungkin saya bacakan saja anggota CPD Asia per Januari 2023, yaitu ada Indonesia Pari, ada Kamboja, Vietnam, Filipina, Singapura, Macau, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Malaysia, dan tambahannya sekarang kita punya negara anggota baru dari India, Palestina, Laos, dan Arab. Jadi sangat banyak sekali sekarang peserta CPD Asia. Mudah-mudahan kita dapat sharing ya antar radiografer dari seluruh negara di Asia ya nantinya ya. Jadi karena setiap bulan bergilir, jadi tiap negara menjadi hostnya untuk acara CPD Asia, dan seperti yang disampaikan oleh Pak Gatot tadi, Indonesia akan menjadi host CPD Asia nanti di bulan Mei 2023. Jadi jangan dilewatkan nanti. Bli Putu, di main Zoom mungkin kita sedang melihat.
Baru mulai saja.
Baru
video,
mulai ya, jadi.
Ya, video openingnya.
Iya.
Kita langsung relay ke Macau. Kita pergi bersama-sama ke Macau. Bu Irma.
Ya. Baik, silakan Bli Putu.
Terima kasih. Terima kasih Pak Sekum. Terima kasih Pak Gatot. Tadi
Terima kasih Bu. Terima kasih.
Pak Gatot dan Bu Irma sudah disapa oleh seluruh presiden Asia. Baik, saya langsung relay menuju ke Macau.
Selamat menyaksikan Bapak Ibu semuanya. Sepertinya audionya belum tersar, Bli. Mohon izin.
Iya, ini lagi sedang patching. Iya, sudah.
Ya, terima kasih, Bli. Izin Bli Putu, suaranya belum masuk sepertinya ya. Masih dalam proses ya, Bli ya.
Sudah masuk, Bu Irma belum ya? Belum masuk ya?
Sudah, Bli.
Suara dari Macau apakah sudah masuk?
Kecil suaranya, Bli.
Kecil ya? Oh, itu suara back sound saya berarti sebentar. Apakah terdengar? Dengar?
5, 6, 7, 8.
Irma?
Ya, Bli, sudah masuk. Sudah masuk, Bli.
Oke,
Sudah jelas.
baik, terima kasih.
一句有 is muted.
Hi everyone from Asia and all over the world.
Apakah sekarang masuk, Bu Irma?
Sekarang malah hilang, Bli.
Oke,
Ya,
ternyata
tadi sudah masuk,
sistemnya baru. Baik, saya sambungkan lagi.
RTA. And I am Peachy Luna, your program
Ya,
host.
sudah masuk, Bli.
We
Terima
are
kasih.
again very grateful to our sponsor, VT Healthcare Vietnam, in helping us organize this online CPD Asia. And we are live streaming on YouTube. Please search PARI, Parry, and BART, BART channels, so you can watch us live and or watch a replay using these YouTube channels. So this CPD Asia is highly supported and graced by member societies, presidents and officers, and their representatives. Let us greet and welcome President of Vietnam Association of Radiological Technologists, VART, President Thai Van Lo.
Happy New Year, everyone. Happy New Year.
We have the President of Perhimpunan Radiographer Indonesia, Indonesian Society of Radiographers, President Dr. Giek Sugianto. I guess to greet is we have Mr. Adiputu Susanta.
On behalf of Dr. Sugianto, hi everybody.
Yes, thank you, Putu. We also have the President of Hong Kong Radiographers Association, HKRA, President Wan Shin Buan Nelson.
Hello, everyone. Good evening.
Also with us is the President of the Taiwan Association of Medical Radiation Technologists, TAMRT, President Chun Yuan Chu.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Happy New Year.
We also have to greet us the Singapore Society of Radiographers, SSR President Denise Chu.
Good evening, everyone. Happy Lunar New Year to everyone.
And we also have received greetings from President Sophie Lee of the Association of Cambodian Radiological Technologists, President of the Philippine Association of Radiologic Technologists, and we have from the Myanmar Society of Radiation Technologists. Also joining us are presidents and representatives from our new participating member societies to the CPD Asia. Let's welcome and greet President of Malaysian Society of Radiographers, MSR, President Sawal Marsait.
Hello, hi, everyone. Good evening. Happy Lunar New Year. Thank you.
And also with us is the President of the Indian Society of Radiographers and Technologists, ISRT, President Selva Kumar.
Namaste all. Happy New Year. Happy and prosperous New Year to you all. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.
And we have received the greetings from the Vice President of Palestinian Association of Medical Radiation Technologists, PAMRT, Palestine, Vice President Mohammed Al-Bangani. So also we have our invited panelists from different countries. We have Mrs. Chan Lai Kwan from Malaysia.
Hello, everybody. Happy Lunar Chinese New Year.
And we have Yin Wei Oh of the Myanmar Society of Medical Radiation Technologists, Myanmar. So once again, thank you very much, dear presidents and officers. They will be joining us later again during the Q&A session as our panelists. So before we start the program, may I humbly request all our presidents and officers or representatives, along with the MRTA, our host officers, the moderator, and speakers, to please open your camera for a short photo session.
Pichi, your mic mute again.
Thank you. To formally start the program, please welcome the President of Macau Radiological Technologists Association, MRTA, President Fernando Koch, for his opening message to everyone. President Fernando Koch.
Thank you, Pichi. Good evening, everyone. Dear colleagues and friends, first of all, on behalf of MRTA, I wish you all a Happy New Year. This is the first online ASIA CPD program in 2023, and I hope our online CPD platform can keep going in many years and so on for our Asian colleagues and friends to communicate and share knowledge with each and other. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, President of Macau Radiological Technologies Association, MRTA, President Fernando Koch, for that warm welcome. To begin the session program, allow me to briefly introduce our program moderator, Mr. Edwin Chi Ian Au. Mr. Au has a bachelor degree in biological imaging and radiological science from Yangming University, Taiwan. He has earned his master's degree in electrical and computer engineering from University of Macau, Macau SAR, China. Currently, he is the academic director of Macau Radiological Technologists Association, Macau SAR, China, and a radiological technologist of the Department of Radiology of S. Juanario Hospital Health Bureau, Macau SAR, China. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our session moderator, Mr. Edwin Au.
Thank you. Thank you, Luna, for your introduction. And today, our main theme of our CPD is the clinical practice and regulations. We have two speakers tonight. The first one is Ms. Cora Ng. Her topic is about the experience sharing on personal radiation protection material inspection. And Cora is a senior member in MRTA. She is also a senior radiological technologist in our Macau government hospital. Now, please welcome Cora for her presentation. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Cora Ng from Macau Radiological Technologists Association. It's my pleasure to have this opportunity to do my presentation in the 21st online continuing professional development platform for Asian radiological technologists societies. Today, I'm going to share my experience on personal radiation protection material inspection. In the daily work of radiological technologists, we often use different types of radiation protection materials, such as lead apron, thyroid shields, lead gloves, lead glasses, various kinds of lead shieldings, etc., as it is related to the safety of users. Whether it is new, purchased, or in use, they all need to be tested to determine their performance. In this presentation, I will introduce the principle, methods, criteria, and precautions of radiation protection material inspection to you. So, before introduce the inspection methods of radiation protection materials, let us review some principles involving the interaction of X-rays and materials. There are mainly three basic ways that an X-ray photon can interact with matter. They are photoelectric effect, Compton scattering, and pair production. In my presentation, which mainly focused on the physics knowledge concerning about radiation protection material inspection, so here we only discuss the first two interactions between X-rays and matters. Now you will see that all times X-ray photons are absorbed, while at other times they are merely scattered. Let's take a look on the photoelectric effect. A photoelectric interaction depends on two factors: the energy of the radiation and the atomic number of the absorber. And the reaction is most common with low energy photons and absorbers with high atomic numbers. Photoelectric effect gives excellent contrast without generating significant scattered radiation, just because after this effect, the photon energy is completely transferred to the electron. Then the photon will disappear, therefore achieving the effect of complete shielding. As a summary, the photoelectric effect is the predominant interaction with low energy radiation with high atomic number absorbers. So, materials will absorb the radiation because of photoelectric effect. Remember a word, absorption.
Absensi Anda telah berhasil. Terima kasih.
Next, let's take a look on another effect, Compton scattering. Almost all the scattered radiation that we encounter in diagnostic radiology comes from the Compton scattering. An incident photon with relatively high energy stripes a free outer shell electron, ejecting it from its orbit. The photon is deflected by the electron so that it travels in a new direction as scattered radiation. First, a partial shielding effect can be achieved. As a summary, at higher diagnostic energies, Compton scattering is responsible for almost all scattered radiation. Materials will scatter the radiation just because of the Compton effects. Let's remember this theory. As we know, attenuation is the reduction in the intensity of the X-ray beams as it travels matter, either the absorption or diffraction of photons from the beam. So we will have this concept. Attenuation is absorption plus a scatter. What is the factors that will affecting attenuation? So there are four factors determine the degree of attenuation of an X-ray beam as it passes through the matter. One involves the nature of the radiation. That's the energy, the kV, X-ray energy of diagnostic radiology is usually around 30 kV to 100 kV. Three involve the composition of the matter. Increasing the radiation energy increases the number of transmitted photons and decreases the attenuation, while increasing the density, atomic number, that means the Z value, or electrons per gram of the absorber, will decrease the number of transmitted photons and so increases attenuation. Here, let me show you the classic equation involved in the derivation of the exponential equation for X-ray attenuation. In this equation, remember where the mu means the composition of the matter, atomic number Z density, and the energy of X-ray. X equals to the thickness of the matter. That's the thickness of the radiation protection material you are going to be tested. So, with the above basic radiation physics knowledge, let us understand the radiation protection material. So the most well-known material should be lead. So lead is very effective at blocking radiation, and it is easy to find lead in a cheap price. It is also a soft metal that can be easy to manufacture or process, and can be cut with a knife. Due to its low melting point, lead and tin can be easily welded to water pipes or computer boards. It has high corrosion resistance and will never change, so it is used for the roof waterproofing construction. It has not changed for the case because of traditional method of lead radiation protection. It's easy to compare or calculate, so it also can use to be a standard. That's the MMPB equivalent. For the disadvantage of using lead as the raw material for radiation protection, in addition to heavy, mostly because it is poisonous, in EU has comprehensive restrictions on using the lead. For example, unleaded gasoline, some cosmetics using, and paints, toys, electronics, bullets, lead pellets for fishing, especially damage the nervous system of the children, which can cause some blood disease and brain disease. And there's also a question for specific environmental protection suppliers. They will think how to dispose of it after use because it's a so poisonous material. So we better try to avoid using lead as the raw material of the radiation protection material nowadays. So you will think that is there any other choice other than lead to use as the raw material? In addition to lead, there are also many different materials which can also effectively block the radiation. As I mentioned on the previous page, the harm of lead may be far higher than that of radiation. Therefore, we prefer to choose other materials other than lead. They can be a combination of blending of materials. Here, you may ask a question: how to choose the material? The following points should be the key points. First, the material should not be toxic. Then you will think, is it a radioactive material or metal? Usually, if you use heavy metals, that should be sometimes they will be a radioactive one. For example, thorium, it is a radioactive element. So another question is, how is the weight of the material? Will it be too heavy? Or will it be too expensive to get? Is it easy to fabricate? And the comfort level of the material? Here is an example of the mixed material using as radiation protection material. We will use barium plus aluminum plus tin and plus bismuth. Okay, let's get back to the personal radiation protection materials which are in use. Currently, we have various styles of lead aprons. For example, a 3/4 wraparound style, the one that vest and skirt can be worn separately, and another kind is that an open back one, also known as frontal protection style. Other than think about which kind of apron fits the user more, for the reason of occupational safety and health, user should also wear a lead apron in proper size and weight. Some departments may request the supplier to provide embroidered characters, that's with the name of the user on it or the department name on the frontal layer of the lead apron. Also, we also have thyroid collars which are paired to the apron. For fluoroscopy or DSA or cardiac cath lab, lead glasses and lead mobile shields take also an important role on radiation protection. Here shows the lead apron commonly used in my department. On the left page, it is an apron in a 3/4 wrap around style. Each quarter of the apron have 0.25 mm lead equivalent. After get dressed, they will have 0.5 mm lead overlapping on the front. It is the same case on the right page. It is a vest and skirt, that means a 2 pieces style, which also will have a 0.5 mm lead equivalent overlapping on the front. Here is another style of the lead apron commonly used in my department. It's shown on this page. As you can see, this is an open back, also named as frontal protection style. Usually, an open back style apron will have 0.35 to 0.5 mm lead equivalent on the frontal side. Usually, it will be used For example, radiologist that operates for an interventional radiology procedure in the DSA room, cardiologist who operates for the cardiac cath lab, and the radiologic technologist who may get closer to the tube. They should wear this type of lead glasses for a proper and better protection for their eye lens. Next, on this page, this is another one of the types of lead glasses that we used in my department also. This is a 0.07 mm lead equivalent one, for which usually used during operation in the operation theater mini C-arm case, or some general fluoroscopy with lower level of scattered radiation. In the case of interventional radiology, it is not recommended to use this type of lead glasses when the staff have to stand closer to the tube. Remember, we should always choose the most suitable radiation protection material before enter a radiation site. For example, if you are going to join a PCI operation in the cardiac cath lab, or it is an interventional radiology DSA case, and may be very close to the patient and the tube, then you should choose a 0.5 mm lead equivalent full wrap apron and wear a pair of 0.75 mm lead equivalent lead glasses. Similarly, if you just ready to join an orthopedic operation in the OT which need the fluoroscopy with a mini C-arm during the operation, you may choose a frontal protection apron, which is with 0.35 to 0.5 mm lead equivalent, and with a 0.07 mm lead equivalent lead glasses instead. Furthermore, choose lead apron in right size and not so heavy are also important consideration for the staff. For the cardiologist or radiologist or radiologic technologists who have to get very close to the patient in a cardiac cath lab or DSA room, they should be in full protection, as shown on this page. People who must move around the room during the procedure should also wear a wrap-around lead apron in correct size. Please always remember this point is very important for your protection. The lead apron and lead glasses shown on this slide fit for the mini C-arm fluoroscopy, which you can keep a distance to the patient and the tube, and it is just in a short exposure time. By the way, as shown on this page, whenever you are wearing an open back lead apron during a fluoroscopy procedure, always remember to face the source of the radiation, because there isn't any protection on your back. Now, let's move on to the lead equivalent in lead apron. As the radiation protection is mainly for scatter radiation, always remember the following two main points. First, for C-arm in the operation theatre, 0.35 mm lead equivalent apron should be enough. There should be an 85% to 90% attenuation when using 100 kV. Secondly, for cardiac cath lab and a DSA room, 0.5 mm lead apron is needed. There should be a 90 to 95% attenuation when using 100 kV. Let's get back to the theme of this presentation. You will think that why we should do the inspection for our radiation protection materials? It is all about safety. We do the test to let each department aware of the information such as the condition of its radiation protection materials, thereby to improving the safety of the personnel so as to achieve a high-quality radiation protection. The procedure of the inspection will include the following 3 steps. First, we need to set a code for our radiation protection material. There include both lead aprons, thyroid shields, and lead mobile shields, followed by methods of the inspection. Last but not least are the SQAPED criteria and reporting. First is the coding of the radiation protection material. We first set the code of the radiation protection material according to, first, the English abbreviation of the department, that means where the radiation protection material belongs to. Second, the year of the first inspection. Third, the serial number of the radiation protection material. After that, then we have to record the data of the radiation protection material, which include the purchase date, the lead equivalents, the weight and size, and the style and color of the material. Here is an example of the coding of the radiation protection material. On this tag, there also include the information about the apron test, which include the name of the inspector, the inspection date, the result of the test, and the next inspection date. The inspection of the lead aprons includes the following 2 parts. They are the routine check of the lead aprons and checking the X-ray attenuation rate of the lead aprons or the lead mobile shields. For routinely check the lead aprons, first, we need to visually check for external damage. Then we may choose either radiography or fluoroscopy or CT for checking if there is any inner damage. The lead apron needs to be disposed of it if any cracks or tears is found with the length more than 1 cm. Here shown the first step of the routine quality assurance of lead apron. Do a visually check to find out any outer damage on the apron first. There are 3 ways to perform the routine quality assurance of the lead apron. The first one is the digital radiography mode. Follow the steps below to perform the apron test. First, we have to fix the SID to 100 cm. Then we maximize the FOV and set the exposure parameters to 80 kV, 10 MAS. We should use low kV settings for better image contrast. And don't forget to turn off the automatic exposure control, that means the AEC, to protect your X-ray tube. 4. Place the apron inside the FOV. Continue for the digital radiography mode of the routine QA of the lead apron. Step 5. Exposure and read the image for any cracking signs, and then we may use a paper clip to locate the cracking size and the size. Step 7. Mark the crack with an unremovable marker pen and record where the cracking sign is, the size of the crack, and the date of this inspection. And last step is to repeat the above procedure until the whole apron is checked. Here shown the practical operation of using digital radiography mode to perform the routine quality assurance of an lead apron. On this page, the apron was already placed inside the FOV and ready for the exposure, then read the image for any cracking sign. Repeat checking until the whole apron is tested. The second way to perform the routine quality assurance of the lead apron is the fluoroscopy mode. Let's follow the step below to perform the apron test. First, fix the SID to 100 cm, then maximize the FOV and set the exposure parameter to 80 kV, 10 to 20 MAS. Also, use low kV settings for a better image contrast, and don't forget to turn off your AEC to protect your X-ray tube. Step 4. Place the apron on the table, then exposure and move around the table to try to find any cracks on it. Step 5. We may also use a paper clip to locate the cracking size and the size of it. Last but not least, mark the crack with an unremovable marker pen. Record where the cracking size is, the size of the crack, and the date of the inspection. These two pictures shows how to locate and mark the inner damage found after the X-ray exposure. You may use paper clips, which will be easy to find in the office. Bend the clips, then use it to locate and confirm the damage size of the apron, like showing on this picture. After located the cracking size, for example, using a paper clip to do as the previous slide shown, we should mark the cracks with an unremovable marker pen to record where the cracking size is. Then we need to measure the size of the crack and to record the inspection date. The third way to perform the routine checking of the lead apron is the CT mode. This is also the commonly used detection method in the department I work at present. Let's follow the steps below to perform the apron test. First, we will use the scout view of the CT, and then place the apron on the table, then start exposure to find any cracks. Third steps, we may use a paper clip to locate the cracking size and the size of it, and mark the crack with With an unremovable marker pen, record where the cracking size is, the size of the crack, and the date of the inspection. We set a protocol as apron test on the CT. Actually, we just performed the skull view of the protocol as the quality assurance test of the lead apron or thyroid shield. After place the apron or thyroid shield on the table correctly, which I'm going to show you on my next slides, press the start button on the CT control panel, then finish the exposure to get image for checking any crack. These two pics show how we place the lead apron or thyroid shield on the table of CT. Then do the landmark and prepare for scanning. Remember, for lead apron, try to lay flat as much as possible without folding. Thyroid shield play flat as shown in this picture. After start scanning for the skull view, we can get images as shown on this picture. We can zoom in this image to help see if there are any broken sides or cracks in the lead apron or thyroid shield. Any cracks found, we have to mark with cracks with the unremovable marker pen and record where is it, the size of it, and the date of inspection. Here, I use this form to analyze the advantage and disadvantage of the above three inspection methods. First, the DR mode, digital radiography mode, which is a compartment operation which accompanies with the principle of personal radiation protection, but with a disadvantage that it should take longer time and is less efficient. It also may cause the loss of the X-ray tube, so it may not be suitable for the inspection for a large amount of radiation protection materials. For this fluoroscopy mode, the advantage is depending on the model of the X-ray machine. It can be compartmentalized. And for disadvantage, it should take longer time and may cause the loss of the X-ray tube. Meanwhile, when the X-ray machine cannot be operated in a compartment, it is less conducive to the principle of personal radiation protection. Last, for the CT mode, it is the highest inspection speed, the fastest mode, which can improve the efficiency and is suitable for the occasions where there is a large amount of radiation protection materials are to be checked. Also, it is cost-effective mode. The disadvantage is it mainly depending on the maintenance status of the equipment, because it is concerning about the operating cost. Why we choose the CT mode as the commonly used mode, just because the maintenance price based on the CT equipment is already included. So that's why we can take this advantage to choose CT as the tool for the lead apron's routine quality assurance. So this is what you have to think about. If the maintenance fee is not included, I think CT mode is not the first choice. Other than the quality assurance of the lead apron, we also have to do a test for the X-ray attenuation rate of the lead aprons. That means the test for the lead equivalent of the apron or thyroid shield. Let's follow the steps below to perform the test. First, we have to fix the SID to 100 cm, then fix the FOV to 18 × 18 cm, and place the dosimeter in the center of the FOV. Then set the exposure parameters to 80 kV 10 MAS, and make sure to use a longer exposure time to make sure enough photons counts for the dosimeter. Step 5. Exposure without any aprons on the dosimeter and read the counts in the dosimeter. Step 6. We're to place the apron over the dosimeter and to expose again. Try to smoothen the apron as much as you can. Then exposure and read the count in the dosimeter and calculate the counts before and after the apron coverage, which the equation is 1 minus the result of the counts with apron divided by the counts without the apron, then multiply by 100%. Repeat exposure until each part of the apron is checked properly. For a 0.35 mm lead equivalent apron, 85 to 90% attenuation using 100 kV. For 0.5 mm lead equivalent apron, there should be 90 to 95% attenuation at 100 kV. There's a remark. A 5% difference will be acceptable because of the error from using different equipment, for example, different X-ray tube or different dosimeter, etc. These pics show as the different steps for testing for X-ray attenuation rate of the lead aprons. The left pic is the first step, which will first set the source image distance into 100 cm, then set a FOV in 18/18 and put the dosimeter in the center of the FOV, which is shown on the middle pic. The picture at right side shows there's an apron to be tested, placed on the dosimeters to get the counts of with apron placed on. Here shown the equation of calculating the X-ray attenuation rate. X-ray attenuation rate equals to 1 minus the result of the counts with apron divided by counts without the apron, then multiply by 100%. By the way, you may ask how to check the value of dosimeter after exposure. On the picture at right lower corner, it shows parameters on the dosimeter. On its left upper corner will be the dose. kVp used will be shown on the left lower corner. First, on right upper corner will be the dose rate and half value layer. On right lower corner, the value goes to the time and number of pulses. Other than the routine QA of the lead apron, we also have to do a test for the X-ray attenuation rate of lead mobile shield. That means the test for the lead equivalent of the lead shielding. The following steps is: first, we fix the SID to 100 cm and fix the FOV to 18 × 18 cm and place the dosimeters in the center of the FOV. Set the exposure parameters to 100 kV, 40 mA, 1000 ms. Remember to use longer exposure time to make sure enough photon counts for the dosimeter. Place the shielding closer to the dosimeter, just like simulate the reality that the staff who will always stay behind the mobile shield. Step 6. Exposure
Recording
and counts
stopped.
in the dosimeter and calculate the counts
Recording in
before
progress.
and after shielding with the equation as 1 minus the result of the counts with apron divided by counts without the apron, then multiply by 100%. Finally, for 0.35 mm lead equivalent shielding, 85 to 90% attenuation using 100 kV. For 0.5 mm lead shielding, 90 to 95% attenuation using 100 kV, and also a 5% difference will be acceptable because of the error from different equipment. These pics show the setting of the test for the attenuation rate of lead shielding. First, set the source image distance to 100 cm, Then place the dosimeters in the center of an 18 × 18 cm FOV. Always remember to place the LED shielding closer to the dosimeter, just like simulate the reality that the staff who will always stay behind the mobile shield. Here show two examples of the LED aprons which was found cracking on it and passed the test. On the left pic, show there is a normal scar after certain period of usage. On the right pic, show there is a small crack, and it is acceptable because both cracking size is smaller than 1 cm. There are samples of an acceptable scar found during the routinely QA of the LED apron, which the cracking size are longer and larger than 1 cm. These LED aprons must be deactivated and disposed of it in a proper way. Now let us understand the elimination criteria for the LED apron testing. For LED apron, it should be abandoned when there is a cracking size found which is larger than 1 cm or there are more than one crack is found. For thyroid shields, it should be abandoned when there is a cracking size found which is larger than 1 mm or there are more than one crack found in the thyroid shield. Finally, we will draft the inspection report for the LED apron, thyroid shield or LED mobile shield after the routinely QA test. Usually, we just do the test for X-ray attenuation rate for the radiation protection material on its first inspection, which will perform just after purchase. First, we will fill in the information of the apron or mobile shield, for example, the code of the item, purchase date, LED equivalence, weight, size, color, and the style, the date of the inspection, the result of the test, the next inspection date, and the name of the inspector. Then we need to fill in the box that is there any cracks found in the test? If do, how about the size of the crack and how many cracks was found? Followed by the X-ray attenuation rate of the material and photo of the inspected item. If any cracking size was found, captures from the CT scan views and the photos of the inspected item will be also attached on the report. As the conclusion of this presentation, the radiation protection material commonly used in the diagnostic radiology department includes LED apron, thyroid shield, mobile shielding, etc. Always think about the location, distance to patients, exposure time, etc. before choosing your radiation protection material. In cardiac cath lab or DSA room has the highest radiation risk, staff should pay more attention and wear full protection radiation protection material. For C-arm in the OT, put on a 0.35 mm LED apron should be enough. For the quality assurance of aprons and LED mobile shield, visually check for the outer damage and may choose DR, fluoroscopy, or CT for the inner damage. In response to the number of tests, the status of the department equipment, or the maintenance fee, etc. In order to maintain the occupational safety and health of personnel, it is very important to conduct a regular inspection of the radiation protection material. For example, LED aprons, mobile shield, etc. This is my reference. That's the end of my presentation. Hope you will understand more about the radiation protection material inspection from this lecture. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Cora, for such an informative talk. We will let our Q&A section after the second speaker. So time is a little bit running out, so I'm going to introduce our second speaker. The second speaker is Ms. Maggie Mayok Chang. She is also a radiologist from MRTA and a radiographer in Macau Government Hospital. She got a master degree in the UK, which is majoring in the medical physics. Today, she brings us the topic is the radiation protection of pregnant women in diagnostic radiology. So now let's welcome Ms. Maggie Chang for her topic.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Maggie Chang from MRTA. The topic I would like to share today is radiation protection of pregnant women in diagnostic radiology. This is my outline. I will talk about some background information and frequently asked questions, radiation risk to the fetus, basic radiation protection concepts, medical exposure of pregnant patients, and occupational exposure of pregnant staff. Fetuses are more sensitive to radiation than adults. Thousands of pregnant women are exposed to ionizing radiation each year. Some of them underwent X-ray or CT examinations before realizing that they are pregnant. Then they are worried about whether there are any adverse effects to the fetus and consider termination of pregnancies. But in most of the cases, termination of pregnancy after diagnostic radiology procedure is unnecessary. Here are some frequently asked questions for medical staff. Is there a safe level of radiation exposure for a patient during pregnancy? What if a patient underwent an abdomen CT before realizing that she is pregnant? Can a pregnant employee continue to work in the X-ray department? Later, I will answer these questions. First of all, we have to know about the radiation risk to a conceptus or fetus. Radiation effects include deterministic and stochastic effects. Deterministic effects are the result of cell damage and do not occur at doses below certain threshold levels. The severity of deterministic effects increase with increased radiation dose above the threshold. For example, fetal death, growth retardation, malformation of organs, etc. Stochastic effects are the result of unimpaired or misimpaired DNA damage and without threshold level. The probability of stochastic effects increase with those and has no relations to the severity of the effects. For example, leukemia and childhood cancer. The radiation-related risks throughout pregnancy are related to the stage of pregnancy and fetal absorbed dose. Radiation risks are most significant during organogenesis and the early fetal period, somewhat less in the second trimester, and least in the third trimester. In this image, we are talking about the deterministic effects. As we can see, here is the stage of pregnancy, and here is the fetal absorbed dose. Less than 50 milligrade, there is no deterministic effect in the whole pregnancy period. Between 50 to 100 milligrade, potential effects are scientifically uncertain in the first trimester. With more than 100 milligrade, There may be spontaneous abortion, malformation, mental retardation, and IQ deficit of the fetus happen in different stages of pregnancy. This slide shows different stages of pregnancy, including the risk prior to conception, the conception to implantation, and pre-organogenesis stage, which is the first and second weeks. The organogenesis stage, from the third week to birth, also divides into major organogenesis stage, early, mid, and late fetal stage. At the risk prior to conception, no adverse effect resulting from irradiation at levels of diagnostic radiology has been noted. For about 2 weeks after conception, the only deterministic effect of radiation is induced abortion. When exposed with high dose, more than 1000 milligrade, high rate of conceptive death is observed. When exposed with low dose, the upper range of imaging radiological examination, which is less than 50 milligrade, there is almost no effect. That's why it is called all or none effect in this stage. The radiosensitivity increased in the period of organogenesis with potential teratogenic effects. In the early stage, about 3 to 8 weeks post-conception, which is the period of major organogenesis, malformation of most organs and growth retardation may be happen if the dose is above 100 to 200 milligrade. In the early fetal stage, the CNS is very radiosensitive. The threshold dose for mental retardation is about 60 to 310 milligrade. Beyond 100 milligrade, decline in IQ has also been observed. The decline in IQ is estimated at 25 to 29 points per 1000 milligrade. In the mid-fetal stage, the CNS is less radiosensitive than the early fetal stage. The threshold level of mental retardation is higher. The decline in IQ is estimated at 13 to 25 points per 1000 milligrade. In the late fetal stage, high doses are required to induce deterministic effects. The risks associated with medical imaging are stochastic effects, principally the potential for induced neoplasia. Just now we mentioned that stochastic effects has no safe level. Any dose to fetus received may induce leukemia or childhood cancer, but it is difficult to be proven. The probability of these effects increase with increased dose. After an exposure of 10 mg to a newborn, the lifetime risk of developing childhood malignancy, particularly leukemia, might increase from a background rate about 0.2% to 0.3% to about 0.3% to 0.7%. Now we have some understanding of the radiation risk to the fetus. Let's talk about the general principles of radiation protection. The first one, justification. The radiation exposure to pregnant women should bring more benefits than risk. Optimization. Actions should be made to keep the fetal dose as low as reasonably achievable. Dose limits. The fetal dose of pregnant staff should not exceed the limits specified by the Commission. For medical exposure of pregnant patients, almost always, if a diagnostic radiology examination is medically indicated, the risk to the mother of not doing the procedure is greater than is the risk potentially harm to the fetus. Let's have a look at this image in the right side. For general radiology, such as mammography or chest X-ray, the fetal dose is very low. The lumbar spine X-ray has higher fetal dose, which is about 10 milligrade, but still not exceeding the threshold of deterministic effects. For multiple phase of abdomen or pelvic CT, the maximum fetal dose may exceed 50 milligrade, but still presents no substantial risk of causing fetal death, malformation, or impairment of the mental development. In order to minimize the frequency of unintentional radiation exposure of the fetus, we should ask the patient whether she is or may be pregnant before the examination. Warning sign with the message, for example, if it is possible that you might be pregnant, notify the physician or radiographer or technician before your X-ray examination. Should be placed at the X-ray department or near the X-ray equipment. If the patient is or may be pregnant, the referring clinicians should consider alternative examinations such as ultrasound or MRI for study. Who should be screened for pregnancy? According to the ACR guideline, female patients of childbearing age, typically 12 to 50 years old, will be screened for pregnancy. Technologists can ask a patient whether she is or may be pregnant. When was the first day of her last menstrual period? There are some situations that pregnancy screening does not apply to. For example, emergency procedures and examinations such as trauma assessment. The patients cannot be pregnant anatomically. The patient receiving hormone or oncology therapies, etc. According to the ACR guidelines, the diagnostic radiology examination are classified in different risk levels. For chest or extremity X-rays, the effect to the fetus after irradiation is very unlikely. The pregnancy screening is unnecessary. For procedures expected to result in a conceptual dose less than 50 milligrade, such as abdomen or pelvis X-ray, single-phase abdomen or pelvis CT, the patient should be asked, is there any possibility that you could be pregnant? Have you had a period in the last 4 weeks? If the answer is other than no, an HCG test should be performed. For procedures expected to exceed a conceptual dose of 50 milligrade, such as dual-phase abdomen or pelvis CT, fluoroscopy, or angiography, an HCG test should be obtained before the examination. The results are valid for 7 days or the length of inpatient stay. If pregnancy testing is refused, contact the attending physician and radiologist for further decision. Here are some examinations for which pregnancy testing is recommended according to the ACR guideline. Diagnostic, interventional, and intraoperative procedures involving fluoroscopy. Multiphase CT or CTA of abdomen, pelvis, or both. CT-guided interventional procedures of the abdomen. Any procedure expected to result in a conceptual dose over 50 mg. Procedures that require a pregnancy test in normal circumstances should be documented in the facility's policies. If a patient can reasonably attest that she is not pregnant, then the examination can be performed. When the patient does not meet this criteria, and when the examination is not clinically urgent, the technologist should follow the procedural instructions or contact the radiologist or physician for further guidance. If the procedure is clinically urgent and pregnancy status cannot be verified, for example, a trauma patient who cannot respond, a note should be entered in the patient's record. For some procedures that are expected to deliver relatively high doses to the conceptors, a pregnancy test should be obtained within 72 hours prior to the procedure. Even the pregnancy test of patients is negative, technologists should follow the standard screening procedure for pregnancy, because pregnancy tests may be negative for 8 to 10 days after conception. Some places use 28-day rule to screen the patients, because the deterministic effect of the fetus after common diagnostic radiology procedure is almost none in the first 2 weeks after conception. For high-risk interventional procedures, or for patient who is really concerned about pregnancy, we can follow the 10-day rule. The examination can be scheduled within 10 days after the onset of menstrual period to reduce the possible hazards of false negative finding for pregnancy. Medically indicated examination that irradiate remote from the fetus, such as chest, skull, or extremities other than the hip, can be safely done at any time during pregnancy if the X-ray equipment is properly shielded and if the X-ray beam is collimated. For examinations that the fetus is in the direct beam, and this cannot be delayed until after pregnancy, technologists should provide additional care to minimize the fetal dose. So what can we do to reduce the fetal dose? When performing abdomen or pelvis X-ray, we can collimate the X-ray beam to a very specific area of interest. Increase the kV, remove the grid, use PA projection instead of AP projection. Carefully position the patient to reduce the number of X-ray taken. For other plain film, we can cover the pelvis area with lead apron and collimate the beam to the area of interest. When performing abdomen or pelvis CT, we can limit the scanning area according to the scale view. Use wide pitch. Perform single phase instead of unnecessary multi-phase CT. For CT of other body parts, such as head CT, less shield actually does not reduce much dose from scattered radiation, but it may provide patients a sense of reassurance and protection. When performing angiography or fluoroscopy, we can use pulse fluoroscopy instead of continuous fluoroscopy. Minimize the exposure time. Use last image hold technique instead of full exposure. Collimate to area of interest. Reduce the use of magnification. And record all exposure factors for further fetal dose estimation. For diagnostic radiology, fetal dose estimation is usually not necessary unless the fetus is in the direct beam. The fetal dose should be estimated only by a medical physicist or radiation safety specialist. Since fetal dose from procedures is almost always less than 100 milligrade, fetal irradiation from diagnostic procedures almost never justifies terminating a pregnancy. This is another table of fetal dose estimation. The fetal doses from common diagnostic radiology procedure listed here are all below 100 milligrade. Therefore, in most of the cases, no termination of pregnancy is needed after diagnostic radiology procedures. Now, we move to occupational exposure of pregnant employee. The first responsibility for the protection of the conceptors lies with the woman herself to declare her pregnancy to the management as soon as the pregnancy is confirmed. After the declaration of pregnancy, the additional dose to the conceptors should not exceed about 1 milligrade during the remainder of pregnancy. But it does not mean that the pregnant workers should avoid work with radiation or radioactive materials completely, or that they must be prevented from entering or working in designated radiation areas. When a medical radiation worker is known to be pregnant, there are three options that are often considered in medical radiation facilities. The first one is no change in assigned working duties. There are many situations in which the worker wishes to continue doing the same job, or the employer may depend on her to continue in the same job in order to maintain the level of the patient care. From a radiation protection point of view, this is perfectly acceptable.
Recording stopped.
Providing the fetal dose can be reasonably accurately
Recording in
estimated
progress.
and falls within the recommended limit of 1 milligrade fetal dose after the pregnancy is declared. The second choice is change to another area where the radiation exposure may be lower. Changing to a position that may have lower exposure is also a possibility. In diagnostic radiology, this may involve transferring a technician from fluoroscopy to CT scanning or other area where there is less scattered radiation to workers. The third choice is change to a job that has essentially no radiation exposure. Change to a position where there is no radiation exposure is sometimes requested by the pregnant workers, who realize that the risk may be small, but do not wish to accept any increased risk. The employer may also arrange for this in order to avoid future difficulties in case the employee delivers a child with a spontaneous congenital abnormality. This approach is not required on a radiation protection basis, and it obviously depends on the facility being sufficiently large and feasibility to easily fill the vacated position. The employer should evaluate the work environment and ensure that high-dose accidents are unlikely. In our hospital, we usually work in different imaging modalities such as general X-ray and fluoroscopy, CT, MRI, angiography, ultrasound, etc. After declaration of pregnancy, the staff will be arranged to a job without radiation exposure, such as QC of imaging or ultrasound. After the first trimester, she will work in the general X-ray area, mainly for outpatient. The X-ray room shielding has been tested, and the workload has been calculated, so that the fetal dose is unlikely to exceed 1 milligram during the remainder of pregnancy. Pregnant workers should wear a personal dosimeter at the raised area to estimate the fetal dose. The fetal dose is not directly comparable to the dose measured on the personal dosimeter. A personal dosimeter worn by diagnostic radiology workers may overestimate the fetal dose by about a factor of 10 or more. In addition, factors other than radiation exposure should also be considered. Pregnant workers should be helped to reduce the work of living patients or bending below the knee levels. So now we can answer the questions mentioned earlier. Is there a safe level of radiation exposure for a patient during pregnancy? Those limits do not apply for medical exposure, since the decision to use radiation is justified depending upon the individual patient's situation. When a medical procedure is justified, the procedure should be optimized. Those limits are determined only for staff and not for the patients. What if a patient underwent an abdomen CT before realizing that she is pregnant? The fetal dose should be estimated by a medical physicist or radiation safety specialist. Then the patient can be better advised. In many cases, there is little risk, as the radiation will have occurred in the first 3 weeks following conception. But in a few cases, the conceptors will be older, and the dose involved may be considerable. However, it is extremely rare for the dose to be high enough to warrant advising the patient to consider terminating the pregnancy. Can a pregnant employee continue to work in the X-ray department? Yes, a pregnant worker can continue working in the X-ray department as long as the fetal dose can be kept at below 1 milligrade during the pregnancy. The pregnant workers do not need to avoid work with radiation or radioactive material completely, or preventing from entering or working in designated radiation areas. 3 options are often considered in medical radiation facilities for pregnant workers. The first one is no change in assigned working duties. The second one is change to another area where the radiation exposure may be lower. The third one is to change to a job that has essentially no radiation exposure. There is always no correct answer. In conclusion, it should be determined whether a patient is or may be pregnant before X-ray examination. A pregnant woman can undergo diagnostic radiology procedure if justified, and care should be taken in order to minimize the dose to the fetus. Fetal irradiation from diagnostic procedures almost never justifies terminating a pregnancy. Those limits are determined only for the staff and not for the patients. After the declaration of pregnancy, the additional dose to the conceptors of the pregnant worker should not exceed 1 milligrade during the remainder of pregnancy. These are my references. Please feel free to share your experience from your working place to us. Thank you for your attention.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Chang, for this informative speech. And now we are going to the Q&A session. So there are many questions from our audience, but since the time is limited, I cannot answer all the questions. So I just pick some from the question pool for our speakers. First is from for Kola. Hello, Kola.
Hi.
Hi. Our audience want to ask, can we use the double lead apron to doubling the radiation protection? Is this a significant way for gain more protection? Thank you.
I don't think so, because as I mentioned in my presentation, I think an RT or the radiologist or cardiologist should choose his proper radiation protection material. For example, the lead apron before he entering or she entering the radiation site. For example, if you're ready to do a mini C-arm in the OT, then you only need to choose the open back apron or with a 0.35 mm lead equivalent. I think it's enough. Or if you're ready to do DSA, then you choose full web one who with a 0.5 mm lead equivalent. I think it should be better. No need to wear double lead apron. I don't think it's a proper way, because it's too heavy it's not suitable for the OSH concern. Thank you.
Thank you. And also one more question for you. One audience asks, what is the proper way of disposing the defective apron, lead apron?
You mean to dispose it of it?
Yeah. How to throw away? Can we throw
okay.
the rubbish bin?
So if an apron that need to be abandoned is to be disposed of it by a designated recycler, but you should remember it should not be disposed of it as a general waste. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Kola. So I also have some questions from Mayor Chair Maggie. Hello, here. Hello. Yes. Our audience wants to ask: can a 6-month pregnancy patient do the PCI, the percutaneous coronary intervention, since the patient having some vessel disease, maybe 2 vessels, and she may need the PCI? Can she do that?
I think if it's life-threatening and that is really clinically urgent, then the PCI should be done at the moment. Then it should be performed. The first dose for the diagnostic for the deterministic effect for 6-month pregnancy is actually quite high. Almost no deterministic effect at the diagnostic radiology procedure dose level at that period. We can also do something to reduce the fetal dose. For example, we try to reduce the exposure time, and we can cover lead apron at the pelvis area of the patient to reduce the dose. So if it's clinically urgent, then we should perform the examination. I think that.
Okay, thank you. And another question is that for the chest and extremity X-ray, the pregnancy screening is unnecessary, right? As you said. So the audience want to like to know the age of the fetus. So maybe it's how old the fetus that you don't need to do the pregnancy screening, things like that.
According to the ACL guideline, actually the chest X-ray or extremity X-ray can be safely done for the whole pregnancy period. If, let's say, the X-ray equipment is properly shielded and the X-ray beam is collimated to the very specific area of interest. But it actually depends on different places, their own policy. If your working places is more strict for pregnancy screening, then you can follow your own place policy.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, thank you. I think there is many questions, so I have to look at it. And Kola, hello. Kola. Hello. Yes. One question is, I think, about the lead apron. The question is that who does the regular assessment, and can you tell the procedure that how to do that? I don't think. Who do the regular assessment, and can you tell the procedure of assigning a person who will we expect to perform the QA and QC test?
The one can perform the QA and QC test. Because we already held an education course about the quality assurance of the lead aprons several years ago by a designated person. So if my colleagues who get this certificate will certify for this course, and then he has the right to do this test for all the lead apron in our hospital. Okay.
So there is a course, and then you have to finish the course.
Yeah. We have to finish the course and then get the certification on it, and then finally we can do the test, perform the test after that.
Okay, thank you. Since the time is running out, so I think the Q&A session will end here. But if you really want to ask some questions to the speakers, you can send us an email and we will try to reply you as soon as possible. So I think it's the end of our CPD program, but don't go away yet because we still have some news for you. Let's welcome back Miss Luna. Hello, Luna.
Yes, thank you, Edwin. Now, thank you so much to our dear presidents and our panelists. The Macau Radiological Technologists Association, MRTA, has just provided us with 2 great speakers. They have carefully and well chosen very important topics, and we really have learned a lot from your discussions, speakers Cora Nang and Chang Mei Lok. So continuing now, with the interest of time, we have to cut from here, but we will have to give way for the next part, and this is to know the details about the next Asia CPD. Let me invite here Alice Chang from Taiwan Association of Medical Radiation Technologists to speak for President Chu.
Hello. Hello, everyone. I'm the Vice Chairman of International Affairs of Taiwan Association of Medical Radiation Technologists. And thank you for inviting me to this online course. We are going to host the next CPD on 18th February at 5:30 p.m., which includes 3 topics. And please join us at the Zoom meeting. And we are looking forward to seeing you all. Happy New and Happy Chinese New Year.
Thank you, Alice Chang. We'll surely mark that calendar. Again, congratulations to Macau Radiological Technologists Association, MRTA, President Fernando Koch, to all your officers, your organizing committee of this 21st CPD Asia. We also would like to give thanks to support from our sponsors and the VT Healthcare Vietnam. Also, we are grateful to our distinct speakers. We also would like to say thank you to all the member societies presidents, the representatives, their officers, and of course to our very hardworking CPD Asia IT team, to all our registered participants who have made this online CPD Asia program successful. We would like to see you again in the next Asia CPD. Again, I'm Peach Loon and I say thank you everyone and have a great day.
Okay, thank you all of you to support Macau. Thank you. See you all in the next month. Taiwan.
Thank you. See you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. And Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Okay,
Happy
goodbye.
New Year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go again.
Thank
It was
you,
a wonderful
Alice.
program today. Thank you.
Congratulations, MRTA.
Congratulations. MRTA.
In May.
Congratulations.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Miss Cora.
Thank you.
Thank you, Luna. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll be sending the MOA to ISRT, to MSRT, and PAM-RT. Palestinian. Yeah. Ma'am Denise, President Denise. Edwin,
Bye.
thank you so much. Hi, sir. Super good.
Thank you, Luna. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you,
President
Edwin.
Sarah,
Thank you, Fernando.
Putu, Miss Chang.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, PG. See you in see everybody in next webinar next month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Have a great time ahead. Thank you.
And we hope to see you in Kuching.
Monitor, beli
Oh
itu
yeah,
Mbak Irma.
welcome.
Ya, Assalamualaikum. Baik Bapak Ibu sekalian, itu tadi webinar CPD Asia yang ke-21 yang di-host oleh Macau.
Bye, Pari. Wow, salamat. Wow, good evening. We have the same time, I guess. So,
Bapak Ibu, jangan lupa untuk mengisi post test ya sebagai salah satu syarat untuk mendapatkan sertifikat dari acara
always
CPD
helping
Asia.
us connect with the Pari and all your members. Oh, bye-bye.
Itu MC-nya Pici lagi sending bye-bye to kita semua. Ya, silakan Bapak Ibu bisa diisi post testnya. Pak Sekum, ada pesan-pesan mungkin terkait dengan materi ataupun pelaksanaan 18
Terima kasih Beli Putu, Mbak Irma, Mas Gatot yang
Februari ya.
mengawal acara kegiatan pada malam hari ini. Dan juga tentunya teman-teman semuanya ya, 57 masih bertahan semuanya, alhamdulillah luar biasa. Dan kami juga mengharapkan kita akan mendapatkan ini ya, kesempatan di bulan Mei, seperti yang Mas Gatot sampaikan tadi. Mungkin barangkali ada dari teman-teman yang hadir pada kesempatan ini punya ide, kira-kira materi apa yang ingin kita persembahkan untuk kegiatan CPD Asia. Barangkali punya ide ya, atau punya masukan, saran, boleh nanti langsung di chat aja ke kami, kira-kira tema apa, materi apa yang ingin disampaikan untuk kegiatan CPD Asia pada saat kita menjadi host. Ya, barangkali kita juga perlu masukan dari teman-teman semuanya. Bukan begitu, Ibu Putu, Mbak Irma, atau Mas
Assalamualaikum. Rencananya di bulan Mei ya, Bu Irma ya?
Iya, betul sekali, beli di bulan Mei, beli.
Masih ada waktu sekitar 4 bulan ya, 4 bulan, 5 bulan ya?
Yap.
Ya, baik. Seperti yang kita lihat, materinya cukup sebenarnya sederhana, ya. Namun ya, sekali lagi itu juga buat kita bisa buat refresh atau buat yang tadinya tidak tahu bisa lebih tahu, yang tadinya nggak paham bisa lebih mengerti, dan saya rasa nggak sia-sia lah, karena ilmu ini semuanya bisa kita peroleh dan kita bisa manfaatkan di lapangan. Mudah-mudahan ya. Ya. Silakan Mbak Irma, lanjut aja. Saya terima kasih banyak ya. Sekali lagi saya mengucapkan terima kasih kepada semua teman-teman semua yang hadir pada kesempatan ini. Dan mudah-mudahan ini menunjukkan bahwa atensi kita dan semangat kita bisa tetap seperti ini dan memberikan satu kontribusi yang positif bagi keberadaan Radiografer Indonesia. Terima kasih.
Baik Pak Sekum, saya izin untuk menyampaikan pendaftaran kita di form pendaftaran itu 123 sampai akhir ini. Kemudian yang tadi melakukan absensi awal itu, aduh ini layarnya saya nggak lihat, 56, kemudian yang post testnya baru 6. Post test dibuka hingga pukul 22 WIB malam hari nanti. Silakan, nanti kita akan usulkan, kita masukkan ke bidang sekretariat untuk mendapatkan sertifikat, dan mungkin juga ada SKP masih dipertimbangkan, masih diusahakan. Selama ini tidak ada SKP-nya karena waktunya 90 menit. Mungkin nanti ada caranya 3 CPD lah jadi 1 SKP dan seterusnya. Demikian perkembangan sampai sejauh ini Pak Sekum.
Ya, Bli. Terima kasih.
Silakan Bu Irma, nanti N-nya izin memutarkan himne Paris seperti budaya kita di webinar. Silakan Bu Irma, mungkin ada closing statement atau Pak Gatot masih bersama kita, mungkin ada yang ingin disampaikan. Silakan Bu Irma dan Pak Gatot.
Dari Pak Gatot mungkin? Oke, kalau tidak ada, mungkin Pak Gatot sedang ada aktivitas lain. Baiklah Bapak
Lanjut
Ibu
Bu Irma,
sekalian.
lanjut.
Oh iya, silakan.
Saya nyimak, silakan Bu Irma, silakan
Tapi
dilanjut.
kok berengosan gitu Pak Gatot sekarang di fotonya? Berwibawa sekali itu.
Itu foto jadulnya mungkin. Baik, terima kasih Pak Gatot, Pak Sekum, Liputu Adi, Bapak Ibu semua. Terima kasih yang sudah bersama kami dari awal hingga akhir acara ini. Terima kasih atas partisipasinya. Jangan lupa sekali lagi kami ingatkan untuk mengisi post-test dan sampai ketemu lagi di acara CPD Asia selanjutnya tanggal 18 Februari nanti. Terima kasih semuanya. Kami undur pamit. Mohon maaf apabila ada hal-hal yang kurang berkenan selama program relay ini. Kami akhiri dengan Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Om Santi 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 Om. Salam sejahtera untuk kita semua.
Terima kasih Bu Irma, Pak Putu, Pak Hidayat, semuanya. Terima kasih.
Pak Gatot, Pak Hidayat, izin untuk memainkan himne Paris sebagai penutup.
Senada seirama
Izin and meeting for all. Ker berangkat ke masuk malam nah, Bagi tempo, telat no.
Lanjut beli. Terima kasih banyak beli Putu.
Ada WA aja Pak Ketum sing tentang ongkoran translate gini poster 8 poster. Nanya ke WA nah ide dulu masa 3 hari uang pada no.
Siap beli. Silakan and meeting for all dulu beli ini yang lain.
Kan mumpung ini sih masih 42. Terima kasih.
Selamat malam.
Sampai jumpa.
Mbak Indra Katoda,
sampai jumpa semua ya.
Pak Sekum, ya. Saya di WA Pak Sekum izin konsultasi sebentar. Konsul 1 menit. Saya di WA Pak Ketum minta translate poster ada berapa 8 dari image apa gitu ISRRT punya proyek. Saya kerjasama dengan Bu Putu Irma, Pak Sekum ya.
Ya, langsung saja beli. Ya.
Ya, terima kasih Pak Sekum.
Lanjut.
Ya, beli.
Terima kasih.
Ayo mari, and meeting for all. Sampai jumpa.
Sampai jumpa semuanya. Mbak Osa, makasih. Mbak Putu Irma, Mas Nur Walidain, Mbak Indra.